recording. Sorry, Mark. So I will repeat that for the sake of the recording. So in these advanced settings, you have to toggle the breakout room on, and then if you want to pre-assign rooms, hit this checkbox. So these are the general settings for Zoom. And then after that, if I can get back to my meetings, I need to go all the way up here. So go to my meetings. And then what I'm doing is we're in this faculty Zoom group meeting, and obviously we can't do 2 meetings at once. So this is I'm just using this so you can see how it's done. Where did that go, Jennifer?
Edit this meeting, I think is where you want to click.
Yeah, why am I not? Oh yeah, okay, thank you. It's another sub setting area. Okay, thank you for reminding me. We just did this a few minutes ago, I already forgot. Welcome to my 50s. So, and where did it go? Every time I go into Zoom, I do the same thing.
Okay, scroll down.
I'm scrolling down. Where are you?
And in a breakout room pre-assigned.
There it is. Okay.
Under meeting options.
Okay, so.
I'm pointing, can't you see me pointing?
Yes, thank you. So in these meeting options, the breakout room pre-assigned, so you can manually create rooms. I'm going to use that CSV and cross my fingers. And there we go. And this room 3 was a leftover. Wait a second. Let's see. We got. Okay, so let's see who we have here. Steve's not here. Jennifer, Brad, Shasha's not here. Amanda's here. Jamie, Kathy's not here. Jeff. So maybe I'm going to.
I'm here. Kathy's here.
Jennifer. What's that?
I'm here. Kathy's here.
Oh, Kathy's here. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't let someone else admitted you, so I didn't realize you were here. Thanks for speaking up. So, so we have Jamie, Kathy, and Mark in one group, so that'll be enough. And we have Jennifer, Brad, Amanda, and then we can add. For some reason, you went to I put in room 3 instead of room 2. So what are is it K Patter?
Yeah.
Callie? Is that
Yes.
your email address?
Yes, I'm trying to hit unmute, but I'm doing it incorrectly.
Okay, so let's see. So then I just manually added her to this pre-assigned group, and I save, and that's it. So what I do know is if you want to go back to anonymous, you can clearly uncheck this, okay, and it'll get rid of it. Now, what we're going to try to do is see if you can, once you have a pre-assigned and you're in there, as we are now, if we can also decide to reassign everybody anonymously. Okay, and we'll do that.
So, Greg.
Yes.
This is the test meeting, right?
This is the test meeting.
We're actually.
No,
okay, so we'll have to.
meeting.
You'll have to go in and tweak the groups for the meeting we're actually in.
Sure. No, I understand. I was going to try to do that from inside the meeting.
That's okay. No worries.
Yeah.
Greg, quick question for you.
Sure.
If you're already in a Zoom session, is there no way to create breakouts once you're already in one? Let's say I'm having office hours and I get a bunch of students that end up showing up and I wasn't expecting it. Can I assign them at that time or no?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do right now.
Okay.
Is try to attempt to do that. So, because as Jennifer pointed out, Callie isn't in the current pre-assigned. So I can't open this meeting. This is just an example to demo for you. So what I'm going to do is open this up. This is the case we're going to do, and we tried. And Angie, if you have a way, let me know. But we tried to repeatedly show my toolbar while I was screen sharing, but we could not get it to work.
Yeah, you can't unfortunately show your Zoom while you're in Zoom. But let me see if I can find something that I can pull up that'll help with demonstrating that. Hold on.
Okay.
Greg, maybe while we're waiting, you made one comment before on these groups. Would these rooms be available for the students to meet even when you're not? I mean, are the rooms there permanently that they could go into?
No, they're in your session. So I think what you would need is like, I think Jamie's done this and I've done this in Teams. I make like, and you've done it for our department. You make individual channels. I think they would have to go to their own Zoom room.
Okay.
I mean, they'd have their own Zoom meeting. So the groups only exist in your assigned meeting.
Okay, just for that time. Okay.
Now, I know.
I will say,
Go ahead.
Okay.
okay, my 303 students were really good about creating Zoom, going into their own group Zoom meetings and working together in their groups. Like that's pretty much how they did their projects last semester, was going in through, they can all go into Zoom on their own and create meetings for their team.
Okay.
I guess, I mean, I haven't done this, but you could, like, for example, we were talking about having that scheduled time from your previous face-to-face schedule. You could leave, if they find it cumbersome to start their own Zoom room, you could open your own meeting for them to go in their breakout rooms.
Okay.
So, but I haven't done that.
Greg, can you open up on the chat to allow anybody to chat? I think you've got it set so that it's only available to chat with you, and it's probably your default for your students.
Yeah, 'cause I had tests going on, so it's proctoring tests. So just a second.
I will say that I did that during my synchronous Zoom sessions in the spring for the 303 class. I would put them all, create a breakout room for each team, and then I would just kind of hang out in the main one for the last couple of class sessions so they could work in their groups. So, I mean, that definitely works. And I also, and we'll talk about this later, there's a setting so that if the host gets kicked out, the meetings stay open. And with uncertain connections, that's a great thing. And I'll talk about that later.
Go to your edit. Wait.
Go to my edit on my meetings.
I think I'm trying to remember if it's in that meeting or if it's under your settings in general.
I think it's settings in general. We'll see shortly.
Yeah, I think it might be in your meetings in general or your settings in general. I'm sorry. Chat. All participants, huh? Okay.
Yeah, no, I did set it for the meeting.
I just sent a chat that everyone should be able to see.
It's set.
I did it by, can you guys see the chat I sent?
Yeah.
I can. Yeah.
Okay, so all
Yeah,
I
but
did
I
was
don't have the
clicked-
option to chat with everybody. I think only you and Greg can chat with everybody.
Yeah, 'cause
from the
we're-
looks of
we're
it.
all-
Okay, so maybe I'm special.
You're the
Yeah,
co-host.
Yeah, because I just clicked.
Yeah, you're the co-host.
Okay, got it. I'm special. Okay. I thought I'd figured it out.
No. Let me see.
So Greg, I dropped into the chat a link to one of the self-paced courses that's built for using Zoom. And it does have a section that goes through and walks through doing breakout rooms,
Okay.
which we can use as a visual if you would like. So scroll down on the left navigation bar and there's a breakout rooms about 2/3 way down.
I hear you, but my link's not opening.
It was not?
The link wasn't opening.
Oh, I thought I saw it.
Hey, Mark, see if you can send a chat now, because I think I might have fixed that setting.
Yes, it's better.
Oh, here it goes. So what do you want me to do, Angie?
Scroll down on the
Okay,
left
looks like we
navigation
can
bar
Chat to
and
anyone.
click
now,
on
Jen.
breakout.
Yep. So now everyone can send and receive.
There's a
the chat.
video that walks through it. You might want to just mute it because you probably don't want the audio on it. But so click on the little speaker next to it. There you go. And then you can click begin and it'll walk through.
All right, so this is if you're creating it during the meeting, and you can do manual or automatically, which is what I was going to demonstrate. So if you just, that was an example of just creating random groups.
Mhm.
So if you just want to break, you have a one-day exercise, you could do it that way. And then when you open the rooms, the people go to the rooms, obviously. So, and my experience was when you send them a message, when you're going to close it, it gives them time automatically to wrap things up. I think it's 2 minutes maybe to rejoin the main room.
Okay.
Do you know how long this is, Angie?
Not really sure.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna
You can,
pause
you
it
can
'cause-
stop at any time.
yeah. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of start with our group exercise. It's already 10:30. So
I dropped that in the chat for everybody in case they wanted to access it later on. They
okay.
can go ahead and click on it to look at it later at their own pace. Sorry, Greg.
Sure.
Good.
So I'm gonna go to the breakout rooms, and you can't see all the rooms. Let's see. Can you see my breakout room control, Jennifer?
Mhm.
I can't. I don't know if
Nobody
it's
can
just
see
for
it.
Jennifer.
Okay.
I
Well-
can't see it. No.
Okay.
It
all right.
looks just like what we saw in the video, if we can see it.
So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what they did was manually assign. So I did assign rooms before, but it's letting me, so you can override it even if you have pre-assigned rooms. So I'm going to manually put you in groups. Okay. So that is now done. And what we're going to do is go through this assignment. So I kind of shortened everything up, just look for the highlighted boxes. So I'm going to walk through this very quickly. You're going to go to your rooms and somebody open this document to share in the group and then just go through it and then we'll reconvene. So you just have to do this depreciation expense and it's, the building is 810,000. So I'll mark that here. 810,000 for the building, 30-year useful life, 100,000 residual value, and just put it in the adjusted trial balance in the yellow boxes. The income statement, you have to just point to the depreciation expense and it'll complete itself. Retained earnings, you don't have to touch it, except for the balance sheet, you just have to point to the return earnings. And actually to save some, well, just you can do that. And this will put the accumulated depreciation in here, and then the totals, everything should update, and crossing my fingers, it should balance. Okay? Is there any questions about these steps? Everybody good? Okay. So for us, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms. All right, and then you should see your room and you join it, and then somebody take the lead, and you can't hear me anymore if you've joined the room. All right, great. So it should be just you and me. Jennifer? Hello? Oh, Jennifer's in a group. Okay.
Somebody going to share their screen then?
Yeah, Kathy, do you want to share yours? I'm trying to pull mine up here. Oh,
Or I can see if I can do it. Where did it go?
I can open it as well if you guys want to focus on the
Okay,
actual task of.
Completing it. Here it's thinking.
Are you in the share mode?
So I've got mine open here.
Can you here? Let me see if I can share
There
it.
you go. Who's got it?
I did.
Okay.
You want me to let you guys do it though? So you can have a chance to play?
I mean, all we do is hit the share screen at the bottom, right? The little
Yeah, then
button.
you have to select the proper screen with the item.
Okay.
I can stop sharing if somebody else wants to try it.
I'll try it.
Okay, go Greg, go. I mean, go Brad, go.
Maybe.
I'm rooting for you.
Right. Well, I know that it's pressure. And so
Yeah.
I'm seeing my Excel open here, but now where do I get to the Zoom share screen?
It's the bottom of the picture. That is the toolbar, and it's the little green box with an arrow up. Is the share
Yeah.
option.
I usually.
So click on.
Functions in Excel to calculate that?
I mean, I could have, but I have my phone in front of me, so it's easier.
That's what my students say too.
Okay, let's
Well,
see.
you guys are doing great. It took them. They're still not decided who's sharing their screen over there, which is just like students. The first 5 minutes,
Yep.
is who's going to share the screen.
how do I share my? How do I do that part of it?
Down at the bottom, Callie,
Yeah. Oh,
where you
Yeah,
could
if
do
you
the
just hover over
chat,
your
see the
mouse.
share screen option.
Yeah.
So what I would
Okay.
have the
Hover the mouse
students
at the
just
bottom.
put the equal and point to the other one.
so then did you have the Excel file saved to your desktop or computer?
I did,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I
so-
emailed it.
I saw it on my phone, but I didn't actually download it. Okay.
Sure, no problem.
Oh, that sounds like something my students would do.
It was right before the meeting started.
But
Yeah, listen, I get you.
It'll share your
I didn't-
whatever you have on your desktop, Kelly.
Okay.
It's just
Yeah, just as a word of warning to those of you that may
oh
not
yeah,
already
be
know
careful.
this, you have to dictate which desktop it is. So if you're on a Mac, I recorded an entire lecture video a couple weeks ago, and I went to edit it in TechSmith, and it was just my actual desktop, and I'm talking and pointing all over the place. I had to have my wife come in and show me what I was doing wrong because I thought I was doing it right the whole time, and she uses Zoom a lot for work. So
Isn't that the
wasted about
worst?
45 minutes. Oh, it was so infuriating.
Don't bother with the ledgers. Just do the adjusted trial balance, income statement, retained earnings. You don't even have to touch in the balance sheet.
Yeah, no, I did. It doesn't balance.
Let's see. Income statement. Well, actually, so let's see the adjusted trial balance first.
I think
You need to have a negative there, probably.
Yeah, that's
the
not
fact
balance.
that it's
Oh,
negative.
you forgot the accumulated depreciation
Yep.
Okay.
in the trial balance.
Okay.
There it is. So I usually say equal and point to the other cell.
Yeah, I need more coffee today.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm working on cup number
how
3
is it
now.
balancing? Still not balancing.
Because I think on your income statement you have depreciation as a
Ah,
positive.
positive. Oh,
Mhm.
all the tricks.
Woof, rough year. I try to avoid net operating losses
Okay.
in 301
Well-
because it tends to blow their mind.
Yep, throws them off.
Was it a loss? No. Okay, I don't know what happened. It was the actual solution wasn't a loss. I'm not sure what happened.
I've done something
Anyway,
wrong.
It's okay.
Is the depreciation right? Is it 23,667?
I can't remember.
Okay.
So it's 810 divided by 30 divided by 12.
Well, don't we have a residual value of 100,000? So
Oh, yeah,
shouldn't it be
710.
divided?
Yeah, 710 divided by it's 30 years, but it's half a year of depreciation.
Oh, that's what we didn't
we
do.
did
It's
a-
half of that.
Ah. Okay.
That doesn't make it any rounder.
No, so it's
No, but it'll go
11,833.
No, it doesn't make it balanced, but it'll make it a net income instead of net loss. So I mean, the goal of this isn't to balance the balance sheet; it's just to have an extra balance.
That's fair.
So anyway,
Yeah, Hey, Greg, just a quick question that might be slightly off topic. I was thinking that we were at some point in time, probably early on in the meeting, we were going to go over the actual process of setting up the breakout rooms and stuff. Is that something we'll do, or is that something we should just use the link that
was the first thing we
to-
did is you got to enable breakout rooms, and then in your meeting, you have to, if you want to do the list. Okay, so I can go over that again when we go back to the main room.
Okay, I saw you do that, but I wasn't sure. I must have missed.
So one of the documents I sent you was a CSV, and that's where you set up a pre-assigned room.
Yeah, and I have
And
that
Mark,
one.
if you want to practice doing that, we could each practice at some point, just a few of us, to make sure we can each physically do it.
Yeah, I will definitely do that because I
It's
think
in that it's in that recording that Angie sent, and it's also in the link that we have in our document.
Okay, perfect.
So
I
one
should be able to
thing,
figure
if
it
you
out,
go
but
to your retained earnings on your balance sheet, that should definitely be a positive number. I don't know what happened to the RE. If you go look at the return earnings statement, I don't know if it's missing something. Retained
Is there beginning retained earnings?
Is the dividends 50,000? Really? I guess it is. I don't know. No, the
well, I gotta
retained.
be honest. I'm glad there's no students in here watching us right now.
No, that's all. Yeah, the retained earnings balance is 0. Yeah, the dividends. I don't know why it's 50. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, well that is what it is. These balance, so this everything else has to balance. I don't know where it's going wrong. I had the solution in here. I just took some stuff out, so at some point it was working.
So is there a way for us to get out of this breakout room and go to, so we can go back to the main room and come back to the breakout room?
Sure. So,
Yes.
I mean, do you have a button that you can leave?
Yeah, I see that. I was just wondering if I'd be able to come back.
It'll take you automatically back.
Okay.
When you
I
leave-
mean, once I leave the room, can I come back to the room?
Yeah, if I haven't closed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that way students can go out and come back in if they have questions.
Mark's trying it. I'm going to too.
Okay. Yeah, isn't there a thing that lets you raise your hand too? The students used it. They would send me a chat, or they would raise their hand when they had a question. I can't see
Yeah,
it.
they can go into group. They can go into the chat and chat.
Is there a raised hand?
If you click on participants, it'll give you the option to raise your hand.
Yeah, I see it. It's under more.
Yeah, it says Mark Ortigan raised hand.
Yeah, I did
So
that
if
in
you
the
could share,
participant list.
if you could share that with Jamie, but the students intuitively seem to get that one. They showed me that one. All right, I'm going to go back to the other room.
Okay.
See some of my, you should see the sexy spreadsheets I built for my daughter's wedding. I don't think she appreciated them as much as I did, though.
So did you get it to balance?
Yep.
We did.
We had to make a correction though.
Where was the correction?
Your total long-term assets included the current asset total. You had C12 in the formula, so we just took that out.
Oh, what? Wait, total.
We thought you intended it that way.
Wait, total current plus building. Oh, that's total long term. Okay, I thought that's the total asset formula. No, I put it in there. I originally was going to have you guys do it, which would have worked out. Okay, so is it balancing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be off by pennies or something because it has that conditional formatting then. Okay, so a couple of things that they brought up. They haven't gotten theirs. They didn't figure that out like you guys did.
Oh, yay! I feel so smart
You
now.
know, on the CPA exam, you have to find errors. That's why I put that in there. So
That's
anyway,
all
anyway, they
That's your
also,
story.
I don't know if you found the raise your hand you can raise your hand to let the instructor know you have a question.
It's listed as ask for help in the toolbar
Okay.
next to
So
the
can
reactions.
somebody try to do that? I didn't know about it, but students just found it and they would use it. So you might want to tell them about it, but it'll on my screen, unfortunately I can't share my toolbar from Zoom. It'll say Brad Reed raises his hand above the participants icon. So then you could go to that other room, right? So you could either be waiting out in the main room for questions, and I think that's what was suggested by Angie, that in terms of time, if you have a lot of groups, just do a first pass and then tell everybody you're going to wait for questions. Because if you have more than four or five groups, you really can't make it around twice. in an hour and 15 minutes. It's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
you
go through
can-
the first time to make sure they're started, and then Angie's suggesting groups of 4 or 5, I think. And then if you're going to do that, then what you need to do is kind of wait for people to raise their hand. So Angie Byer shared a file in this meeting. So you get that information on I get that information. The instructor does on their control bar.
And if you click on the chat, then you can see the file. And I just dropped it in there as a screenshot of what it looks like for the toolbar where you see the ask for help icon.
Yeah, so that way everybody could share the common file through the chat, the students could. And if it's one of those projects like most of mine are where you have to work between classes, they'd have the common file.
And in the chat right now, it limits it to just those of us who are inside of this breakout room right now. Right now, I only see Amanda, Brad, and Kathy, and Greg.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is it making sense how this works?
Yeah. So now, what do you do to have? So then they would submit this file to you completed through Blackboard?
Through Blackboard. Yeah, I would use Blackboard for all of that.
Okay.
I don't want to get things through chat. It just, to me, it's another place to lose stuff and lose track of stuff. One of the thing about Blackboard is it's clunky, but it is very good at keeping record. I feel I rely on it heavily for that. Even in online classes for questions, I don't take them in email. I'll take them in Blackboard by topic to keep them organized and have them accessible to all students. So
go ahead.
I'm
sorry. The other thing too is that anything that's shared inside the chat, once that session is closed, that's gone, except for it downloads for the host of the session. But
so Angie, one of the when I break them out in groups, I have a project where they're asking me questions, and then I provide them with different files, responses based on their questions. So is this chat function a way I could do that? So give them attach that file to that, or would
you could do that
inside Teams? Maybe be better to do that.
But you could do. Are you saying you're giving them individual questions?
No. So like the group, in the fraud case I do, so the group would interview me and ask for like the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger, or they might ask, different documents that then I provide to them. And so I was trying to think of the way to provide to them why they're in this group.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Other groups wouldn't necessarily ask the same questions and wouldn't get access to the same documents.
You could also use, if it's something you know ahead of time, you could set up groups in Blackboard and put a group file share for a particular project. But if it's something you're doing in real time, I think the chat is the best place to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. If they come up with like a part 1 and then you give them from their part 1, they do something else with their numbers as they go. But in my opinion, for the instructor to do file sharing, it takes time and things move very quickly if you have a lot of groups. So I always try to pre-arrange everything to save instruction time.
Okay.
That's my opinion. It's just
I get that.
It's everybody has the same spot on Blackboard, either for their group or for the whole class, and all the resources are there. Then they can you'll tell them to have them on their desktop ready to go before class starts. And you can tell them, like, if people show up early, you just get them started opening it up, make sure everybody has it open. But if you're in the summer and you only have 2 classes, I mean, you can pretty much luxuriate in an hour. That's a lot of time if you have 2 groups. But you have to think about the number of groups. I think that's important.
Okay.
So one of the benefits of sharing your documents inside of the Teams file share, as opposed to sharing it as inside of Blackboard or through the chat, is that you're actually getting that collaborative efforts inside of the same document if you're doing it within Teams, so that they can all be working inside, and seeing it, instead of like you just made edits on this particular spreadsheet, but it didn't impact any of the rest of our files. All of us have our own individual ones. We'd have to do our own work. So it depends on what you're trying to do. Are you having them work collaboratively on one item, or do you want them to work on something, but everybody has their own version that they can have to ultimately submit?
So Angie, you're suggesting an alternative is to set up channels in MS Teams and have a group thing that goes beyond class to work in Teams?
Yeah, Jamie's been doing that this term with some of her accounting classes and using actually there's a Microsoft Classrooms inside of Teams, which doesn't translate everything over to Blackboard, but it does provide those collaborative opportunities where that might be similar to what they would be experiencing in the world, in the, the actual work world.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. That was good to know.
Something else too, that you have that ask for help option in your toolbar only when you're inside of a discussion board. I mean, inside of a breakout room. Good Lord, I can't talk today. But if you're in the whole general session for everyone, if anybody clicks on participants, there's a raise hand feature that's there. If you wanted to have the, somebody be able to ask a question while if you've got everybody muted and you're just lecturing or something like that, instead of having people step all over each other.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out the breakout rooms.
Okay.
All right. And
I think, Brad, you can stop sharing on your end.
Oh, thank you.
Is a lot more interactive.
Well, what really is strange to me is right now we are in the time value of money chapter, and I have been dreading this section of the online because I just don't know how they're going to handle it, especially when it comes time for the exam.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've told them, guys, this is a really difficult chunk of this class. You should really be asking questions when you have them. Still haven't heard from anybody. So they're either doing really well with time
Did you
value
end
of
up
money.
getting a document camera?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I have that. I use Screencast-O-Matic on my iPad and record
Okay, but
it.
you have some way to write out
Yes.
problems and work them. Okay, good.
Not in real time, but what I did was I broke out the documents I would normally hand out with exercises on it. I broke them out into separate documents, one for each question.
Uh-huh.
Then I attached that to the TechSmith document I upload, or the TechSmith video I upload into Blackboard. So each video has a specific document tied to it, and then it's just one solution in each video, so that they don't get stuck in the mired down in navigating a 45-minute review video. Each one of them is about 5 to 7 minutes, and they can focus specifically on just that video.
Right. I really recommend a doc camera, especially just getting done with 524 for live office hours. It really seemed to be helpful.
It's made my life so much easier.
Yeah.
You can get that to live stream to the students?
Yeah, you can just have it with Zoom. You can have it to share your screen, and you have your document camera on your screen.
I didn't think about that.
And you can record the video and upload it.
Yep.
There's also a whiteboard feature inside of Blackboard, inside of Zoom as well.
Yeah, I've heard
it's not really very good.
Me.
I mean, I even have the Wacom tablet, and it just doesn't write as well as if I'm writing on PDF Annotator. It's kind of tough to write well with that whiteboard.
Ooh, I may have to try to get a document camera then.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't imagine doing 301 or
who do you contact? I forget who
I asked it. Janice had it sent to my house back in March.
Same.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'm going to send Janice an email right now and see if that's still a possibility.
Yeah, you need one.
That's how I taught 303 online last semester. It was fantastic.
Exactly. I can't imagine doing it without, especially in office hours and.
Mm-hmm. I had a couple times where the students had asked me to work a review problem I just recorded a video and then just uploaded it to TechSmith and didn't do it live. I just did a recorded working of the problem.
Yeah,
and that even worked.
524, they email a question about a problem and I just worked it out and just sent them the video link back. It worked great.
It's very intuitive. Yeah. I'm used to my Wacom tablet and PDF Annotator, but the document camera, everyone can start using it right away.
Yeah. See, I can do the writing out in videos, no problem with my iPad. That's not an issue whatsoever. It's the real time working of a problem that I can't do. But I'll send Janice an email right now, and since you can just share your screen and use the document camera, that seems like it's really advantageous.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. I think it shows up as a second camera when you go in to share it.
It does.
And screen share.
And if you don't have a document camera, I actually created a document camera stand out of PVC pipe and used my my iPad as an external, camera that I did when I was in high school.
Before I got the document camera, I actually bought a bracket for my iPhone that was like $22 off of Amazon that does the same thing.
They're not
That
very,
was kinda
document cameras aren't very expensive. And I think that ITS has some, but I'm sure that School of Business can order some as well if you needed.
Yeah, Janice sent the email out earlier a month or two ago. So she was making them.
Yeah, I just didn't realize you could use it in real time. And since my iPad facilitates the recording so easily, and I'm so used to using it, I didn't think I needed one. But now realizing I can use it in real time, that's a major advantage for things like office hours.
Okay. Just circling back to the breakout rooms, and then Jennifer will close out with some other stuff. So again, you go to the meeting setting or to the general settings and enable breakout rooms and check allow host to assign participants when scheduling. And then if I can get your faces out of the way over here in the Zoom window and in the Zoom group.
And this is all in the web browser, right?
It's in the browser. You can't get it from the app. Then you go to your meetings and choose your meeting.
Hey, Greg, can you share the browser? All I'm seeing is the Word document.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I shared my screen. You see it now, Mark?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
I do. Thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem. And remind me, Jennifer, what I did.
Edit this meeting. So
Edit this meeting.
Bottom
So
right.
there's a subschedule in the settings for the meeting, and
Breakout rooms pre-assign. It's one up from the bottom. Keep going down.
breakout
Rooms.
Thank you.
I have got to stop
checkbox.
pointing like you can see it.
Yeah, and then you would do the import from CSV.
Gotcha.
And then all you got to do is, I emailed you all the CSV file, but they have it on that knowledge base. So then I would have the breakout rooms preset. Okay, so then how to do it while you're in the meeting. Once you have the breakout room set up, it's kind of obvious. You click on breakout rooms, and then that menu is very intuitive. Okay.
One caveat though is that if you're going to pre-assign it, you want to make sure you do that before you open your session with the students. I've understood that if you're already in the session and then you upload it, there's been some problems in terms of getting it to like all sync up. So.
Oh, so that is an issue.
It's just some people ended up being left out for some reason.
Well, that's
so
that's okay. So that is kind of a big deal.
Quick
So if
question,
you're going to
Greg. Sorry, go ahead, Jennifer.
pre-assign, you want to do it ahead of time. But if you're already in the meeting and you haven't pre-assigned, you're kind of locked into either doing it manual or random, is what it sounds like.
I think you can upload it. It just doesn't always take, completely. I've just heard there's some bugs with it, but I don't know if that's something that's been worked out since.
So, I mean, my general suggestion, if you haven't done breakout rooms, is to, like everything in life, just start with something simple that is lower stakes, so you can get the logistics down. That's the main thing. And then
Where can you download the CSV file for the student
it was
listing?
it was in the email, but there's other places. If you go to the Zoom help, it'll give you a template. That's where I got it.
Inside of the Zoom, I think inside of the Zoom settings or the dashboard, I think is where
They
you
also
actually
have
can
one
download a template for it. And it's really very basic. It's just the student name and their email, I think.
That's all it is.
That's what I was just getting ready to ask. There is some formatting that we need to follow, I guess,
Just
to
a
make
dot
Zoom
C- it has to
understand
be-
it.
It has to be a .csv. There's only two columns. One is the room name, and the other one's the email.
Okay.
And I think I sent my CSV to you.
I just want to know how to do it myself.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's it. You would just put your room names in there and put the email. You have to manually put the emails in there.
Okay.
Okay.
I would just download
I got it from the Blackboard list, I think.
You can export it from your users.
Blackboard.
Okay.
So if you already have users groups set up inside of Blackboard for teams like that, you can actually do an export directly from your groups with listing your group items, and then just take that export and then truncate it and just like get rid of the parts you don't need.
Is there a max on how many individuals in a group in a room?
I haven't heard of one. Well,
No, I think there's just a
Haven't heard
maximum
one.
number of rooms.
there's a maximum number of participants in your Zoom session.
Then
but-
Zoom, yeah,
but
in
it's
general.
200. We're never. I won't say never, but I don't think we're
Yeah,
going to
please don't say never, because I know where that's headed.
I think it's a maximum of 50 rooms,
Oh,
if I remember
okay.
I
correctly.
think it is a
So,
maximum. Yeah, I'd seen that too.
Oh. Well, here's
you know,
hoping
you
I
can
never
use
There's
it
a
as
lot of
timeout
rooms.
spaces if needed.
Yeah, that's for Anthony Robbins, I think. So Tony Robbins can do those kind of crazy. But anyway,
You can use it as timeout rooms if you needed to for
Timeouts,
some of
yeah.
those like unruly students.
I need a timeout room.
okay. So speaking of time, I don't know if anybody's pressed for time, but I'd like to not go too over. So are there any more, before we move on, are there any more questions about breakout rooms?
I don't have any right now.
Okay, you think you have enough? And there's resources here, obviously. You know, we're just trying to get it started. I think you have to experience it. You can't just, you know, you learn by doing. I think it's, there's a lot of details, but definitely I think my experience has been, it's worth it. And it's been such a strong response from students. I'm interested to hear about, you know, Jamie's experience with teams as well. You know, that might be another venue, but in terms of the flexibility of me to, what Zoom does is I can have a group thing and then I can come back to the entire class. So I can do the setup all together, and I think Zoom's much better with the bigger group than Teams. They can go to their breakout room and then we can come back together to discuss, you know, the common issues and then just the general information about logistics and when it's due and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Teams I think is interesting, but Zoom also has some strengths as well. So, Jennifer, do you want to go on and talk about these other things that came up when we spoke with Angie and other kind of bonus information if people hadn't seen it?
Can I ask a quick question before we dive into that next section? So Angie, I assume that almost all of this stuff, if we were to just go into the ITS knowledge base, we can kind of fumfer through that stuff and get all of this information kind of plug and chug exploration basis, can't we?
Yeah, and actually the link that I shared in the chat for the self-paced course on Zoom has a lot of that information. It also has linked in there the knowledge base articles that are specific to those particular topics. Knowledge base is always a continuously growing, you know, platform that is, it's probably the best place to go. As things get updated, the self-paced courses, we update those as well because we manage those.
Okay, thank you.
I added that link down here and I'll email it out after the meeting.
Thanks.
Something else you could do actually, Greg, if you really want to get into some app smashing, you can actually take and have them in Zoom breakout rooms and them also sharing their screen inside a team. So they're working inside of both, you know, one inside the other, but that's a little bit, that could be
that's interesting.
Another approach.
Okay. I know that Zoom allows you to share a document on the cloud. So if they're using OneDrive, which they can also use in Teams, they could just have the document in OneDrive.
And actually, Teams links to SharePoint, which is another, you know.
Yeah, right. No, what I'm saying is we're working in Zoom and have them open it on the cloud, then later they can go to their team and it'll be the same document.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I mean, I'm going to continue to learn how to do things better. You know, I'm trying to, but I have gotten to a point where I have a way of working that I know I'm comfortable with and it's the 20% that's getting 80%, you know, and then adding the other stuff as I go. If I get comfortable with it, then I'll continue expanding. But this breakout room, I think is, given that we're going to have so much online, it really, I believe strongly, it enhances the experience for the students tremendously. So I think interactive online is just head and shoulders above lecture. So anyway, so any more questions? And I did add, like I said, here's Angie's link down here. Any other questions, Mark?
No, I don't think so. I think what I'm going to need, Jamie and I were kind of briefly chatting about this. I think I'm going to have to kind of go through this process a couple times, just horsing around with other faculty members, or I can get my wife in a Zoom meeting or something just to explore kind of, and to where it gets to be muscle memory, because I'm going to have to do partially synchronous in the fall. And so I think I'm just going to start going through the process and exploring it after the meeting.
If you want extra people to kind of play with, I've actually logged in through the Zoom app on my phone and then logged on the computer as the host. and been able to have 2 people, but they're both me.
Okay.
As long as you have, yeah. Well, as long as you
Yeah.
have one person who has created the personal meeting room, and then all they're doing, anybody else on any other device. And I've actually done it. So I've had 4 devices going of me being in all of those rooms, and then also had other people in breakout rooms, so I could just see what it looks like to be able to monitor inside all those breakout rooms at one time. It's just a matter of how many devices you have, because if you go in as a participant and you're put into a breakout room, you can still, it doesn't require an additional account.
That's sounds like one of those infinite mirror pictures that are going to make
It
my
kinda
brain
is, yeah.
explode.
Kind of was,
Mhm.
yeah. I was testing out something and it was pretty crazy.
And Mark, if
Yeah.
you want to play around with it, I'd like to do the same. So if you
Okay, yeah,
wanna-
maybe we
can
can-
find a time and we can both
That-
use a phone and a tablet, and that's
Yeah.
four people.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Is
Yeah,
that
just
maybe
Keep me in
if
on
anybody
the
else
email.
wants to do the same thing, that doesn't, maybe we can get Xiao or anybody else who hasn't done this in class yet. We can all just kind of find a time that works and hop on and horse around with it.
If you guys have a time that you want to work on something like that, just blip me an email and I can probably set up something inside of my schedule where I can be there as a sideline coach.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks, Andrew.
interested.
Or if you need some one-on-one assistance on anything, I mean, I'm here as the instructional designer for school business and can help out with.
You're going to
all
start
kinds of
hearing
stuff.
from me far more often now, because I'm realizing that just recording these videos is not providing as much value as I had hoped, and that it's, given that I haven't heard from any students at all this summer, I am suspecting that my engagement level is not where I would like it to be.
Yeah, you guys can, and I'm set up with my Teams phone at home. So, I mean, you can call my office number as well as, send me email.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if everybody is ready, I'm going to just kind of run through a few bonus things really quick, so we're not too late. But let's see. So I'm going to share a screen. You guys should all see my Zoom profile. And the first thing I want to talk about is some usage reports. So if you're like me and you give points for participating, but then you forget to take attendance because you're so busy trying to keep up with the Zoom meeting, you forget to take attendance. Here's how you can figure out who was actually in your class that day. You can go into the Zoom web browser screen, and if you click reports, you have usage reports, and you can set what date range you want. I haven't had any in a while, so I'm going to go back to April 1st. And I'm just clicking to get back to a prior date, and it's going to give me all of the Zoom meetings that I had. And then, let's see, if you scroll over, and you have to scroll over, it's not immediately there, you'll see that it tells there's the number of people that were in a meeting, and then you can click on that, and it's actually going to give you a list of the attendees and how long they were there. And then you can export it to CSV. So it's going to tell you who was in that session, which is a nice way to go back and do attendance, and much easier than trying to check it off on a roster while you're trying to get them all in groups and stuff. So I found this to be kind of nice for attendance and to see how long they were in a session. So the reports are nice. You can also, in addition to usage reports, you can do registration reports if you're requiring registration. You can also do a poll report. So if you're doing polling, you can go in and see those too, which is nice. I haven't done any polling, so I'm not going to be able to pull a report up here, but it's fairly similar interface to the usage reports. I mean, they're all, you just kind of click and tell it what date range you want. And then
I had a general
click
question about the polling, if I could. Since I'm not a host, I assume that's the reason why that doesn't show. But normally, does it show up on the kind of the command bar at the bottom to insert a poll?
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
I figured since I'm not a host, that's why it's not visible right
But
now.
you do have to go to your settings and then toggle the button on.
Oh, okay.
To allow it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you may not see it if you're
So if
hosting.
you
'cause
go
haven't
from
set
this
it all.
profile,
If you want to test that too, if when we do our live setup, you're welcome to.
I feel like we're going to be doing a lot of testing.
One other thing that may come up if you have students who, for some reason, they're not showing up to be able to put them into a breakout room, is the default setting for breakout rooms inside of everybody's settings on all of the accounts for SIUE is to have that enabled. But for some reason, if they were playing around inside their settings and they accidentally turn that off, that could be the issue. If you're like racking your brain, like, why is this person not able to go into a breakout room?
Oh, that's good to know.
I think if you go to settings, are you looking for the polling, Jennifer?
no, well, actually, I had a spinning wheel of death, and then I was just playing around.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you can go, if you go into settings, it'll allow you to toggle require password, to toggle waiting room. And these, I believe, are your default settings, but then you could set them differently for individual meetings if you wanted to.
So as of, I think, last week with Zoom, they had a security update, and I believe that they are requiring that you either have a password or have a waiting room for your for all of the Zoom sessions now.
Okay.
The waiting room is great. I love the waiting room.
Yeah, I've started enabling waiting room. I just
So,
haven't toggled it.
Is
on here.
that something, because I just had a meeting the other day, which I think would have been after that security update. So either I didn't get the update maybe, or, but when I create a meeting using my personal meeting ID, would it have alerted me that I need to set a password?
Well, also if you're sharing a link, sometimes it encrypts the password directly into the link that you share
Okay,
with
I was
other
going to say,
people.
maybe that's why none of my students are coming into my Zoom meetings, is because I'm not giving them the password, but I haven't
It
got an email
encrypted.
telling me they don't have it either.
I think where it's included in the link, I usually see PWD in the actual link,
In the URL?
and it'll have an encryption of the password.
Okay. So that basically means that anybody that I personally invite that clicks on my link, the password just automatically sort of autofills, so to speak. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense because I didn't have to put in the password for this meeting.
Yeah.
Put me right in.
Yeah. So the last two things I want to talk about, I want to talk about recordings. So there's two places to find recordings of your Zoom meetings. You can find them in the web interface under, sometimes I don't save mine to the cloud, so all of mine are going to show up in local recordings. You can see that it gives you a link to it. It shows you where it's located. But the default setting, and where everyone should see them unless you've changed it, is, let me show you a new screen. So I'm going to show you how I would normally get to it from my documents. So, all right. So you guys should all be seeing, hang on one second. Can you all see my screen too? Can you see like three open windows? Okay, cool. So so Zoom automatically, if you record something, saves it to your computer C drive in a documents folder. So if you click documents, you're going to see a folder called Zoom. And in that Zoom folder, you're going to see all of your the meetings you've recorded, and it's going to have them by date. And then if you double click on one meeting, you're actually going to be able to get the audio only. You have playback. If there was a chat, then they will also have a record of the chats there too. But that's just kind of a nice resource. If you've been uploading to TechSmith stuff from Zoom, you've probably already found this. And then the last thing I just wanted to suggest is when you set up your meetings, if you've got people working in groups or you find that you get bumped out of your meeting sometimes, is to select for the meeting to stay open if the host leaves. What that'll do is it'll kind of just assign randomly someone as host until you come back in. And when you come back in, you'll be host again. But I've found that kind of has saved my butt a couple times, and I've got a bunch of people in breakout rooms and my internet connection just blips.
Does that, will
so
it
then
continue? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, will it continue to hand that down randomly until you come back in? So for instance, if there was a storm going on, it assigns it and then their internet goes out, does it keep handing it down until you sign back in?
Yep.
Good. I have sketchy internet some days.
Yeah, and so my husband was actually doing online classes in the Masters of Sociology program, and there was one night when they were online and a storm came through, and everybody in there, like there were only 7 people in their class, everybody ended up being the host at one point.
Quite the adventure.
So, yeah, so it's just a nice insurance policy, especially if you've got breakout rooms and a bunch of other stuff going on. You don't want to lose it and have to reset it up.
Yeah, I had to do that with my partnership exercise in 531. I would just assign a co-host and tell them I'm leaving. When you guys get done, sign out, and it'll take care of itself from there. But that's great to know about that feature. I don't have to worry about picking a student, and I can just let leave, and it'll leave it up to them.
And that's available in the app. You don't even have to go into the web browser to do that.
Jennifer, if I can go back to the reports for a second.
Hang on 1 second. Dun, dun, dun. Reports.
Yeah. So, okay. So on the chat, if I'm the usage report that you went over, that's generated automatically, obviously, and the chat is saved automatically. Correct?
Yes, chat is automatically saved, I believe.
Now, I do know the polling report. You have to run that, or it doesn't get saved. So if you close the session. So if let's say sometimes I use polling just to engage people. Like, I don't know, do you like dogs better than cats, or ask some kind of silly question?
I think you can actually get access the polling report later. You said you can't get it unless you save it during the session?
If you run another session, it's written over.
Okay.
So like I have, for account 302, I have repeated meetings Tuesday, Thursday. I use one meeting. I don't create a meeting for every class session.
Okay.
Yeah,
so if you
that makes sense.
If you open the next meeting, it writes over. So you'll lose any polling data you had. So you have to run the report and then save it somewhere. So if you're keeping it for grading, so you could have, like if you take CPEs, you get those polling questions and make sure you're there and breathing. So, if you have those kind of questions where you assign points to them, you're going to want to run the polling report before your next meeting if you're using the same meeting. But it's great. It's really great. I mean, it puts you have the student name, you have got it right or not. It's a great report. If you want something quick and dirty to assign points to every session in terms of giving an incentive to maintain attention.
So you don't need to run that before you end the session. You just need to run it before you start another session using the same meeting ID, correct?
Yeah, but for me, that means run it before the end of the session, or else I'm going to forget it.
Right, but also since you use your personal meeting ID each time, you really have to do it in between meetings every time at the very latest.
Well, I would set up a meeting for each class. Like for 302, I set up Tuesday, Thursday repeating meeting. It was one meeting in my Zoom schedule, repeating.
I would recommend making those class sessions not using your personal meeting room. That way, if you had some kind of like ad hoc meeting that you needed to jump into or create that's using your personal meeting room, you don't lose that stuff. So make a meeting room for each one of those separate courses.
So do you know, Angie, is there a way, like I have been using Zoom for the board meetings at the SIUE Credit Union, and I set it up to where it's like a future meeting. So I schedule it and it goes out to everybody. But I assume that we can set, if we use a different meeting ID for each one of those, like you suggested, and then could we send that, do you know, as like an iCal file or something where the students could automatically click on it and import it into their calendar, or will they have to do it one meeting at a time? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe they can. I think the best practice, though, is to go ahead and incorporate the Zoom link inside of your course navigation menu, the course menu, as well as you can put it in the content area.
Course navigation, like in Blackboard, you mean?
Yeah, in Blackboard.
Gotcha. Okay, so just maybe
because that way they just click on it and you actually can add it as a tool in your course menu, and then so if you go up to the top of the Blackboard of that left navigation, go to the plus, and then you add a tool.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to get logged in.
Okay. And I can give you guys some steps on how to do that. I believe it might already be in.
Okay, so if I use the plus sign, add a tool link, you said?
Mm-hmm. Add a tool link.
Okay.
And then you'll title it whatever you want to call it, probably like, Zoom meetings or something.
Yeah, right.
And then there's a drop down and you go down to select Zoom meeting, I think is what it's called inside that menu.
Oh,
And
so
then-
I created that, and then when I click it, it takes me to Cengage website for some reason. That's weird.
Yeah, I didn't see a Zoom option there either.
Well, hold on a second. I wonder if they changed it. Something got changed in there. There is an LTI integration as well that you can drop into.
Yeah, I see the LTI tools. That's an option.
So I'm going to click that plus sign and then select tool link. Is that correct?
Yes. And then you should be able to select
I
type.
didn't see the drop down. I'm sorry. I went
Yeah,
right
the
over it. I
drop
was
down,
used to
you
creating,
select-
like, content areas. Okay.
Yeah. So select the type, you select Zoom session and make a checkbox to make it available to all users.
Oh, I don't see Zoom in there. Mine
Yeah,
goes all the way
it's
down to
not.
Wiley Plus, and that's it. That's as far as we get into the alphabet.
Hold on a second. Let me go into mine. See what the heck's going on here.
You said it could be in that under that LTI tools.
Yeah, there's another one if you want to go into your content area.
So in the add tool link, type LTI tools is an option.
That did come out of there. Yeah, so do it inside there. Yeah, it was apparently that's gone away. Yeah, so inside of anywhere inside your course or about this course or something, you can go ahead and go under tools, go to more tools, I believe it is, and then where did it go? Where did it go? I know they were working on something on it. I think if you click on, let's try LTI tools. Nope.
Yeah, that didn't do anything for me.
No, me neither.
Well, I apologize. That was there, and they're working on that apparently. Tool link, Zoom meeting, tools. Yeah, it was under tools, and then Zoom session after Wiley Plus is where it had been. And it's not there. Okay. I'll see if they can, if they've got something that's added that in. So it's supposed to be something that's available. I know they were working on it like a couple days ago. Let me send a message inside of the Teams chat about that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could include me on the findings of that, I would definitely be interested as well.
I'll
As
drop
would
it
I.
as I'll reply to the email that has all of you guys on it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it raining on anybody else right now?
In between, I think.
Yes.
Oh, man, it just opened up here.
So Jennifer, do you have anything else to finish up with, or you think we covered it?
Greg, can I jump in just for 1 second?
Sure.
I've got unrelated, so sorry, but I've already got the request from Janice to approve Mark's document camera, and I didn't get one in the spring, so I think I'll get one. I think, Amanda, I don't remember if you got one. Would you like one?
Yeah, I'll take it, but I just always feel like I'm low man on the totem pole, so I don't want to step on anybody's toes.
No, if you could use it, we'll be happy to do it.
Hey, it's July 1. The budget just opened back up.
That's right. That's right. Get it while you can. So, and I get the only other thing I thought it probably shouldn't go without mentioning that one of those groups got their balance sheet to balance and one group didn't. I'm just throwing it out there. So.
So let's check the formulas. We're like, well, they're wrong. So yeah.
Hey, Greg or Brad, did you ever find out where that laptop went?
No, I think it's probably a doorstop somewhere. But
Okay, yeah, that's probably all it's good for if it's one of the old ones.
What number was missing?
Yeah, I don't know right now. Janice has that. Next time she's in the office, she'll find out. Because at one time, like 17 was one that I used sometimes. And so
Greg, did Ashley end up borrowing one of those or one from IT?
Oh, she borrowed one of those. I thought didn't she borrow one of those?
Yeah,
I
but I
Got it back. I thought.
got it back from her.
Yeah, I remember. Bringing it back.
Sorry, that was all I had.
And Jennifer, you got anything to close up? Or you good? You're muted. FYI. Are you,
Okay.
well, I guess
I'm
that's it.
good. I'm good. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
I do that
Well,
all the time.
I don't know if we figured everything out, but hopefully maybe pushed in the right direction for using some of these tools. And if Mark, Jamie, if you all want to include me on those sessions, those learning sessions to figure out how to use these tools, just
I'd be
include me on the
interested
email.
also.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's
All
always, I have plenty to learn. So I appreciate it. Good to see
Yeah, me
everybody.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And see you at the next faculty meeting, maybe, Brad, or not.
Brad, I do
Yeah.
have a quick question.
Oh, never mind.
Brad, I sat in on the town hall meeting yesterday, and they made some kind of a comment that within 48 hours, all faculty would be made aware of what preference for the fall they were granted for teaching.
Yes.
Okay. So we should be looking for something.
Yeah. So they sent me a spreadsheet and I've got it. And there's a couple of unknowns still, but if your request was for online synchronous or asynchronous, those were approved. I think the only ones that maybe are here, Amanda and Kathy had some courses that they're hoping for face-to-face, and those they're looking for rooms. We don't know yet. So, but otherwise, like Jamie's, yours are first request. Mark, I think we made a change to have some synchronous. That's approved. It's only those that had any face-to-face component that are still on hold a little bit.
Perfect.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll share that in Teams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. See you later.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Everybody.